All right, we're here in round 1. This is definitely a keep. We have 2 of our 3 colors. We do have our splash card, which is awkward, but we have the Illuminator on turn 2, possibly into Hermit, which is actually a pretty nice turn progression. Both of those cards are some of the more premium creatures we have in here. So, this is a hand that could potentially pan out. Okay. So we still have 2 draws to get a land before we start feeling it. And keep in mind, not only do we have 15 land cards remaining, but we also have a fork in the road as well. So it's really like 16 cards. There's our fork in the road. So that's actually really nice. We'll be able to find our... I could actually set up for a Hermit here. That might actually be a better idea than playing the Illuminator. If we play the Illuminator, we get a 1/3 though, which does block the Quilled Wolf, and I don't care if it dies, like, or trades for a trick or something. So we probably just play Illuminator. If we rip a land, we're in good shape. If we don't rip a land, we still get to play Fork in the Road and play our land, so we're not missing a land drop. So I think I am going to play the Illuminator. You also have to keep in mind, Fork in the Road takes 2 lands out of your deck. So it will cut back on our land draws by playing the Fork in the Road. Not super significantly, but enough where it could be a big deal with a hand like this. So we're definitely going to block the Quilled Wolf. Like I said, we're totally willing to eat a trick here. I'm not going to mess with... I'm not going to play around. The whole point of having this card is so I'm not worried about combat tricks or whatever. Yeah, like, this is fine. Obviously, it worked out in his favor here because he gets to deal a little bit of trample damage. But we weren't going to do anything busted. He doesn't have a follow-up play. Now we could either rip a land and play Herbits here, or... well, unfortunately, we just ripped a card that would have been incredible there, but that's all right. So we'll play the Fork in the Road. Let's get our... so what we want to do is take our white mana for our hand, and we want to dump a green mana, because we don't have any double green, but we definitely have double blue. So we're going to take our white for our hand and dump a green mana. And now, if we rip a land, we get to play the Chaplain, which would be really good. If we don't rip a land, we still get to play Hermit. So both of those options seem fine to me. Haunted Cloak makes me feel good, because I don't think the card is particularly good, although it is kind of... Well, we're going to play Chaplain here and make best use of our mana. The Chaplain is actually just exceptional with ongoing investigation as well, because once it comes back, you still get to be getting some card advantage. So we could come up with some pretty good plays here, actually. But Haunted Cloak is actually... I think it's deceptively good, because it gives haste for 1 mana. It basically turns all your... It gives you surprise haste creatures, which is actually pretty powerful. I'm definitely willing to make this trade, or at least trade for a combat trick. Especially since it's got the Vigilance, it just seems like it's what we're supposed to do. Sure. Okay, so let's see if we rip a land. Okay, we got the Mangler. So we've got some actual options here. So we can actually do the Chaplain now, and that sets us up for a better ongoing investigation, because it basically guarantees we're going to get to start investigating, which is really good. Our other option is to play a Mangler or a Hermit. The advantage of playing the Hermit would be next turn we could do the Chaplain and flip our Hermit, which is really good. That is actually pretty good. Plus, it kind of incentivizes our opponent to play a spell. Not that we want them to play a spell, but it makes it so a combat trick is less likely, unless he has another combat trick plus a follow-up play, which is also less likely. So we've got some actual decisions we can make here. I don't think it's the Stitch Mangler. I don't care enough about this guy. It's probably the Hermit. I like the idea of playing Hermit, and next turn just busting out the Chaplain and flipping our Hermit. Hermit's also just really nice because your opponent has to play all of their spells on their turn, or else they face some real card disadvantage. All right, this time he's not attacking, and he does have a follow-up play. A lot of Jenny logins opened in this draft. All right, so this is going to work out. We got the 5th land too, but actually we can flip and play the Stormrider Spirit now. So that's even better. So now we just pass. We get to flip our guy. He gets to flip his Jenny logins, I guess, but I'm less concerned about that. So we get to play Stormrider Spirit, and then we can follow up with Chaplain into Investigation, which is actually pretty nice. No attacks, so let's bust out the Spirit. Now it's our turn to do some cool stuff, so let's just start it off with the Investigation, swing with our Spirit, and then we'll follow up with the Chaplain. That way we leave our awesome blocker flipped. If he plays like an aim high, we get to just divination. So losing a Stormrider Spirit is of like just no importance here. So we get to investigate, which is fantastic. Plus, we get to follow up with Chaplain so we don't flip our werewolf back, and we get more attackers. So we're looking good now. And he obviously did not have a combat trick, or he would have played it on his turn, which is more good news. He's 2 lands from Quilled Wolf, which is great news. So we are looking very good right now. We're getting card advantage. We're working towards our... we're working towards winning evasively, which, like I said, we don't have a ton of in this deck, so it's really nice. He's main phasing a Pack Guardian, which is kind of fascinating. I'm not exactly sure why he's doing that. Oh, because he can't do it on our turn. Never mind. Makes a lot more sense now. He didn't want us to divination. Too bad he didn't make that mistake. Okay, so... yeah, I guess the plan is swing with flyers and just drop down a big Watcher in the Web, which is going to prevent him from really attacking unless he deals with it. And we are really in a good place at the moment. Opponent missing land drops has been sort of key to how this game has been going. So let's play our Watcher. That gives us 2 pretty exceptional blockers here. 2 5 toughness guys when he's got multiple 4 power guys. Green-red, certainly not notorious for having flyers. Cult of the Waxing Moon. This thing... alright, I don't know why he played the card and then conceded, but we will take it. So he was still at least 3 turns based on this board state from losing. So I'm not exactly sure why he conceded, but I will take it. Things to be excited about. Haunted Cloak, like I said, playable card, but not a very good card. Like, playable, but not great. So that's good news. Rush of Adrenaline is actually fine, but it looks like we didn't see any removal from him. That doesn't mean he doesn't have it. But all 4 of his creatures look good. His tricks are, like, acceptable. And Haunted Cloak is kind of on the low end. So until we see some, like, Rabid Bites or... I guess like Fiery Tempers or Reduced to Ashes or something, I'm not super nervous about this match. We did draw a very timely fork in the road, which was super beneficial that game. As far as sideboard goes, we don't have much. I mean, Fleeting Memories would have looked good there, but think about it this way. Fleeting Memories, right? We start milling our opponent. We're already like beating him in the air. It's sort of like Fleeting Memories is more of a build-around enchantment than like a... I'm glad I have it. It can be an alternate win con, but it's kind of the bane of green-blue. It's a lot of pieces have to come together correctly to make a powerful green-blue deck. And even with powerful cards like Jace and Westvale Abbey, I was still ultimately sort of unsatisfied with this deck. We definitely stole that game because our opponent missed land drops and just basically did not have big plays while we got to maximize some 3 and 4 drop plays and just get there over top with Spirit and Chaplain tokens. So that was cool. All right, let's just run it back. I mean, I'm not going to bring in a Root out for a Haunted Cloak. It's just not worth it. Okay, so we've got a mulligan here. I think even if this was a green mana, I would still mulligan this because it would require another land drop before we could even utilize Loam Dryad, which is kind of the reason this card's not that good, but we're definitely going to mulligan this little bad boy. All right, unfortunately, I think we have to mulligan to 5, which is not ideal, but where we're at. Okay, that's bad news, but I guess if you're going to mull to 5 and get your 1 white card, at least you have the 1 piece of fixing for it, too. No, unfortunately, I think we have to bottom this because we're kind of desperate to get that 2-drop Hinterland Logger, even though we definitely will be needing double blue at some point. I think it's in our best interest to just start digging for green now. Not feeling super confident with this game, but we'll see what kind of start our opponent has. All right. Hey, perfect. All right, well, feeling a little bit better. That was kind of the ideal draw. Ooh, Forge Master's good against our Logger, isn't it? All right, well, so the good news. The good news is we actually do have a game plan now. Chaplain with a Murderer's Axe can really bring you back in. I really actually like how well these 2 cards work together. Not only is a 5/3 lifelinker good, but then getting 2 tokens that you can equip and evade over top with is pretty good as well. So we're in a little bit of trouble here now. Yeah, we're definitely in some trouble. I guess we attack with the Logger because if he gets a 4th land, he can just attack anyway. But hopefully his Chaplain does some work for us. Yeah, we're taking a bunch of damage here. Pyrehound, okay. Fork in the Road is kind of like the last draw I think we wanted. Might actually be, well, I was going to say worse than a land, but I guess a land would technically be worse. At least Fork in the Road gets lands out of our deck. So I may actually have to keep the Shredder back to block the Pyrehound. But then again, maybe my best odds of winning this are trying to race. Let's see, if he plays, say he plays Rush of Adrenaline, we're going to take 5, 8, 11. We go to 1. So if he has 2 combat tricks, we're just dead. That seems pretty bad. Might just be SOL anyway you slice it, because my Timber Shredder just can't block these 2. It will be able to block a Pyrehound, but if he has any combat trick, 2 of which we've already seen, it just is a wasted block. So we might as well just go for the race. I think this game at this point is just a lost cause, unfortunately, but there is nothing you can do about the variance of the game here. Probably in our best interest to just discard the Fork in the Road at this point. All right. Yeah, that was kind of the worst, but so we go to 3. We have no gas left. We have a Murderer's Axe that's not going to keep us from dying. So I think we just lose, which is unfortunate, but does happen. Yeah, we really just don't have a way to live here. So I think I'm just going to pass the turn, not show many cards, which is sad. But like I said, it does happen. It's more disappointing when it happens in 8/4s. Like, that's why 8/4s can be so painful. Because when the variance kills you in 8/4s, it really does hurt a lot more than when it does in Swiss, you know? That's the tough part. The tough part about the 8/4s is how much worse it feels to lose to variance. It's like, especially in like, well, I guess I've said this before, but the worst place to lose in an 8-4 is round 2, game 3, just because you got so far and you get nothing. But like I said, it's one of those, it's part of Magic. You have to accept it. You have to accept that it's part of the game. So we just have to hope that we actually rip a good hand here. Yeah, this hand's going to have to do. Ongoing Investigation is one of our stronger cards, so it definitely seems like we should be keeping this. All right, that's a good rip. No play there is great news for us. So now we can do Investigation, draw a card, deal a bunch of damage. Next turn we can actually play Murder's Axe, and I think at that point our opponent might be in some pretty serious trouble. We can also play a Homunculus and crack a Clue, so it kind of depends on what our opponent does. But if I can get in with a Murder's Axe, we're going to be looking real pretty. That's the dumbest concession I've ever seen, but I will take it. So, opponent unintelligently concedes on turn 3 in an 8-4 when his deck probably could find a road to recovery here, but I think he just saw the Ongoing Investigation and the Clue. He was taking 4 damage a turn. I don't know. I'm going to take it because, like I said, it's an 8-4, and wins are so prized in 8-4s because they're just... like I said, doesn't it seem strange to anybody how people more snap concede in 8-4s than they do in Swiss drafts? That is more mind-blowing to me. You'd think with how much more unimportant games are in Swiss, you would expect to see people just concede like all the time. But I've found almost the exact opposite. In 8-4s, people will snap concede so much faster. So it's very strange. But of course, we will take it. We'll see you in round 2.